reached such a strange point for the Heat. They've suspended Jimmy Butler 3 separate times now. It's reaching the point where it's like, man, let's just move on. Let's either solve this, figure it out, man to man. Hey, what do we need to do to have you come in every day and play and be ready to go? We're not trading you. Let's just make this the next few months as easy as possible. Either that or trading him. Why hasn't it happened? Who stands to gain from that? Which part of this potential trade, which party stands to gain from this drawing out as long as possible? Because in my brain, I've been thinking for the longest, this is he's going to the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns. Like, this just feels like an inevitability. Well, the longer this is drawn out, the more I've wondered, maybe this isn't. Maybe the Miami Heat aren't trading him to the Phoenix Suns. The longer this thing has drawn out. Why do I say that? Because why would this not have happened already? What are the Phoenix Suns? The Phoenix Suns aren't in any place to negotiate with anybody. There's no asking price for the Phoenix Suns to say no to or really negotiate out of, right? Is it the Miami Heat negotiating for more? Potentially. Is it a third, fourth team, a facilitating team holding this trade hostage because they know they have all the leverage in this? Probably. But there's reports today, all of a sudden, that a report came out yesterday that Bradley Beal had no interest in waiving his trade clause to go to Chicago, which eliminates the idea of what I thought was probably the most interesting potential Jimmy Butler trade, which was the Bulls take on Bradley Beal's contract, send Zach LaVine to Milwaukee. Milwaukee sends stuff to the Heat. Picks are going to the Bulls, picks to the Heat, and then Jimmy Butler ends up on the Suns. I thought that was really interesting. The Suns obviously get better. The Bucks, I think, get better. The Bulls get picks for their effort, and the Heat get, whatever in return. The Heat are the team here that I think would really get fucked. But now this thing has entered a very weird state. At what point are the Heat diminishing their own returns by stringing the process out instead of just trading them? I think they already know they're getting diminished returns. I think they already know. Here's a Blue Sky. Shout out to Blue Sky. Phoenix Suns guard Bradley Beal will not waive his no-trade clause to go to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have been mentioned as one team the Suns could use to facilitate a hypothetical trade for Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler. In this article, it was also mentioned that Bradley Beal has no interest in going to a cold place. No interest in going to a cold place or a losing team. So that immediately makes things very complicated because ideally in any Jimmy Butler trade, Beal's getting rerouted somewhere else. Right? If Beal had no trade clause, this deal has already been done. And Beal's on the fucking, Hornets or some shit. Right? But unfortunately, that's not the case. Beal's holding this trade hostage. And I'm going to just, maybe I'm being reactionary to some of the reports that have come out today. I'm coming out and I'm proclaiming I don't think he ends up on the Suns. I just don't. I think this has reached a weird point where it's become far too complicated. That's where I think we're at. I think we've reached that point where this has become too complicated. Moving Bradley Beal has turned into such a headache. And the Suns, who, when they made their trade for those 3 first-round picks, to me, immediately, my initial reaction was, did this have to do with a potential Beal trade? Maybe. And then once you thought about it, they're using it so they can facilitate trades and trade Beal somewhere else and use their picks to as a sweetener deal for whatever team's taking on Beal's contract. Okay, that makes sense. But I thought immediately that felt like a way for them to maneuver off their bad contracts. Like they could use 1 or 2 of those firsts to get off of Nurkic. Maybe down the line they use a first or 2 of those firsts to get off of Beal if he becomes more receptive to waiving his no trade clause. But now I'm just not so sure. I don't think it's going to happen. You had Windhorst come on and say, appearing on Tuesday morning episode of SportsCenter, ESPN's Brian Windhorst explained the Heat are really, really trying to get a trade done by dropping their asking price for Butler. The Heat are really, really trying to make this happen. And I know that you could have said that in any time in the last 4 or 5 weeks, but in talking to people who are involved in these talks, I think the Heat's prices have come down. What they're willing to accept in trade has widened. And I think that's going to bring some more teams that we were previously sitting on the sideline to the table. Okay. Maybe I'm misreading that. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns have tried to get this done for weeks. They have tried 3, 4, 5 team machinations. They have not been able to overcome the fact that they've really got to trade. That what they really got to trade is Bradley Beal, who has a no trade clause and not a very big market. And so now I do believe this is going to bring in some other teams. You could see some surprising moves in this little battle in the next couple of days. I'm coming out and I'm saying it right now. Spoiler alert for our trade deadline prediction stream on Thursday. And this could change between now and then. My mind changes constantly. I've already made up one mock trade that I've already scrapped the more I've thought about it. I think he ends up in Memphis. I think that he ends up in Memphis. It makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. The trade package Memphis has, I think, is exactly what Miami wants. Expiring contracts and guys that can help them out right now. And maybe a young, interesting guy tacked onto that trade. I don't know. The Grizzlies have $1 million. Right? Jimmy is exactly what the Grizzlies need. Exactly what the Grizzlies need. This kind of segues me. I was watching the Knicks-Grizzlies game last night, and the Knicks fucked the Grizzlies. That was a second half that was embarrassing for Memphis, especially the fourth quarter. They got routed, 143-106. Now, you could look at this and say, oh, the Grizzlies are 31-16, whatever, they lose a game. They were coming off of what is this, a 6-game winning streak. They've been red hot, one of the best teams in the league. I'm saying this right now. Hear me loud and hear me clear. I don't buy a single thing the Memphis Grizzlies are selling. I don't. I've been iffy on it all year long. I don't buy a single thing the Grizzlies are selling, and I'm not just saying that because they just got blown out last night. I don't buy a single thing they're selling when it comes to the playoffs. I don't whatsoever. They have a losing record against teams that are top 10 in net rating. They are a bottom 10 offense against top 10 defenses. They are a bottom half of the league when it comes to half-court offense. They turn the ball over, I think, the second most in the league. By far the most against teams that consider themselves serious teams. And they give up too many offensive rebounds. I don't buy them. They need somebody like Jimmy Butler, the player, desperately bad. Somebody who in the playoffs, he's been there, he's been in wars, he knows what it takes. The game slows down, he can go get a bucket, he'll go make a play, he'll go draw a foul, he can defend wings. It's exactly what they need. It's exactly what they need. As well as a veteran. They need some toughness. Desperately bad. Now, that's Jimmy Butler, the player. Jimmy Butler, the person, becomes an interesting thing in this whole debacle. He's already openly said he doesn't want to go to the Grizzlies. That immediately made me perk up. We talked about this on here. Why the fuck would he say that? Why would they be so adamant about that? I think it's because Jimmy's agent was like, yo, dude, the Grizzlies aren't fucking around. They want you. And it became a big push. Like, please don't trade for me. Please don't trade for me, Memphis. Please don't trade for me, Memphis. Is he trying to reverse like the Heat? No, I think Jimmy's agent probably found out that the Grizzlies weren't fucking around. They wanted him. And they had to make a media push to basically force the Grizzlies' hand. This could be the Rondo trade 2.0. Butler doesn't want to go to Memphis because they won't trade him. They won't sign him in the offseason. But here's the thing, though. This could work out as a rental. And I think the price could be so low that it's justifiable for a rental. The Grizzlies could, who already run a very deep rotation and probably need to consolidate. You're not going to play that many guys in the postseason. Let's be serious. They could trade out of their rotation for a rental. That'll help him in the playoffs this year. And you know what? If he leaves in the summer, then great. You'll have money. If he picks up his player option, cool. You'll have Jimmy Butler going into next year. If he declines his player option and a team wants to sign and trade for him, cool. You'll get some assets in return. I just think it makes sense. What was the word when Dallas traded for Kyrie? Was he planning to re-sign at all when the move happened? No, he was going to go to free agency, but the extension he could sign was only a 2-year extension, if memory serves correctly. So he wasn't extending no matter what. But it wasn't a, hey, like, I'm not going to re-sign with this team or this team or this team. I think the Mavs had a pretty good idea that they could keep Kyrie. Warriors also make sense. Yes, depending on how low the asking price is, because they say the asking price has been lowered. Yes, the Warriors now make sense. Kevin O'Connor sources, the Warriors are one of several teams back in the mix for Jimmy Butler now that the Heat have lowered their asking price. Still, what would that look like financially? That's the question. Paul is gifted 5 members. Shout out to you, Paul. Salute. But this is where I'm at. I love it for the Grizzlies. I really do. And I think their trade package works. I think their trade package works. It just depends. They're not like the Rockets where, yeah, if you're Houston, I mean, this has been, there's no way you could have expected this. You know, there's no way you could have expected your team to be this good. We predicted them to finish top 6 in the West. I thought they would improve. I thought that they would be a good basketball team this year. Very tough. I did not think they would look the way that they looked. They looked like a serious, real, legitimate contender, straight up. And they need to, if you're Houston, it makes a lot of sense to just, hey, let's go into the playoffs with these guys and let's see what we really got. You know, we're already kind of ahead of schedule. Let's see who we can trust in a playoff setting and who we maybe need to consider upgrading, whatever the case may be. If you're the Grizzlies, this will be your 3rd time in the last 4 years that you finished top 3 in the West. How many playoff wins do you have to show for? Like, you're kind of past that point. And I don't. What's their ceiling in the postseason currently? They're not a good half-court offense whatsoever. They turn the ball over too much. Ja Morant has really, really looked not like Ja Morant over the past couple of weeks. Desmond Bane has struggled at times this season. They need another guy. Is there any team in the East who you can see Jimmy going to? I wouldn't sleep on Milwaukee coming back into this mix here. But other than that, how do you know Jimmy isn't going to keep acting like this? He has at every other stop. That's the big concern. Is you're upset because Miami doesn't want to extend you, whatever the case may be. If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call your bluff. Who's to say he's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna play for you. I don't know. I don't think there's any other Eastern Conference teams that make sense for Jimmy. Just looking at him. Yeah. None. Unless a team like Atlanta or something gets real frisky. He's going to not be playing for a while if he does that. Yeah, I think the Grizzlies would call his bluff. I don't think the Magic are a destination that makes any sense whatsoever. Is Jimmy the biggest diva in the NBA? Yeah, he's up there for sure. Jimmy for KP and Drew. Jimmy on the Celtics would be hilarious. The Suns have been cited as Butler's preferred destination, which likely means any deal would have to involve at least 3 teams because Phoenix doesn't have the draft capital or ability to do a 1-for-1 trade unless Bradley Beal waives his no-trade clause. Given how toxic things appear to have gotten between Butler and the Heat, it's probably in the team's best interest to simply move on and take whatever they can get. By doing this, doesn't Jimmy kill all chances of ever getting a max from anyone ever again? So there's a reason why he's pushed so hard to go to the Suns. I think there's kind of an understanding between him, his agent, and the Suns. They probably have had, they probably had talks that, hey, we'll extend you. We're desperate enough. This is our window. Our window is currently right this second. But outside of that, if I'm the Heat, I'm not just sending him to the Suns out of pettiness. Well, I'm not doing a 1-for-1 trade with the Suns. Hey, Bradley Beal will waive his no trade clause to go to the Heat. Great. If I'm Miami, cool. I don't give a fuck. I don't want him. It's funny that Kyrie was basically damaged goods for doing the same stuff, but Jimmy has done it 3 teams now and everybody still wants him. And the Jimmy stuff, I think the Instagram stuff, God, I think it's so lame. I'd be so mad if I were a Heat fan right now. I'd be so mad. The Suns still have a window. The Suns are playing good basketball lately, and if they were to make a trade for Jimmy, they do become a pretty interesting team.
Discussions with the league, and I want to be real careful. I am not saying this is for sure going to happen. I am not predicting what's going to happen. But I do think some teams that thought they were out of this are coming back in because it doesn't look like the Suns and Heat are going to be able to consummate a deal. I think we might see a team swoop in here and get Jimmy Butler at a cheap price, a guy who can be the best player in a playoff series at a bargain price. And I think that's the phase of this where we're at. And so if a team pulls that off, and I'm not going to tell you the teams that are trying because I can't wade into those waters. This could be a trade that affects the outcome of this season. So definitely a very interesting next 2, 3, 4 days here.
Wendy looks kind of good. I think he's losing some weight. I'm being serious. Clippers, please. What the hell would that even look like? NBA media, Jimmy Harden. Haha, this is so fun. This makes the NBA great. Kyrie, locker room cancer. Can't win with this guy. He should just retire. Yeah, I mean, Kyrie did some stuff towards the end of his stint with the Nets that interpret it however you want to interpret it. It went a little beyond this. Jimmy Butler to the Warriors does nothing for them. I wouldn't say nothing. I would not say nothing. Jimmy for Embiid. This guy's got me thinking now. Clippers, please. What is it, Clippers? Is that even possible? I hadn't even thought about that. PJ Tucker. It feels like they'd have a hard time getting to that number, huh? I think I remember because I was thinking, what would Brandon Ingram to the Clippers trade look like? I think for any contract like that, it would have to be like Zubats. I just don't see it. The Pistons seem like the ideal spot. I'm telling you guys, Grizzlies just make it everything aligns. Fits a need for them badly, and their trade package is almost, they can make the contracts work very easily, and it's almost exactly what Miami wants. Do you see the Heat want to open up cap space for 2028? Yes, I did. Good for them. So anyways, this has taken an interesting turn because it had just kind of felt like a foregone conclusion that he was going to Phoenix. But Beal, because I guess in my brain, the way these things, it feels like usually work out, Beal would waive his no trade clause. Beal would just do it. But it sounds like Beal's not going for that shit. And no one wants him. I think we really underestimated the fact that nobody is going to want Beal, and the price it would cost to just unload Beal, mixed with also getting a good player in return in Jimmy Butler, it doesn't make sense at all. The Suns don't have the pieces. That was the thing I was always confused about in these trades. It's like, so the Suns are getting off of one of the shittiest, if not the shittiest contract in the league, also getting a good player, an upgrade player in Jimmy Butler. I like, how the fuck does that work? It just feels like this is a constant, nonstop. The Suns are just falling ass backwards into good trades. I hope Bill just says, fuck you, Phoenix. That Beal contract is just shocking, honestly. Man, what a terrible why on earth did the Suns do that? Everyone knew everyone knew that trade was a disaster the moment it happened. Jesus, man. Jesus.